Hello there, Brad Foster from BT Publishing and MiceNet magazine. I'm the editor, managing editor I think, last time I looked at my payslip. I'm joined by Felicity Zadro from Zadro Agency. Felicity and I have known each other for many years, probably 13 since she started her business, and we were talking during this COVID period on perhaps looking at ways that the media and public relations can work closer together, or what the dynamic is and why it's important. To that end, we're going to produce 4 short episodes covering different topics. I must say that we are in the beautiful AV1 control room at the MCA in Sydney, styled by Divine Events. It's a great venue. AV1 has been kicking a million goals in this area since the COVID lockdown. They're getting busier every day. They have 4 venues, 2 in Sydney, 1 on the Gold Coast and 1 in Melbourne. You should really check them out. Contact the guys, they've been very helpful today. So we're going to get into it. We're going to first talk a little bit about what is a story, what is a good story, and how you get it into the media, what the media is interested in. So Felicity, let's throw over to you and say PR,
Yes.
PR story, what is it? How do you know that you have a story? Now, to me, a PR story or a good story that the media is interested in, it has to be a little bit different. You don't talk about new chair covers in a hotel. There has to be a reason why the chair covers have changed. Who devised the chair covers? Perhaps go into the I guess at the moment, you know, it could be connected to COVID. Stories I like are about people. So who are the people behind the new chair covers? What are your thoughts on
Yes,
that?
I actually agree with you there, Brad, that...
Well, that's a good start.
I think, one of the things that we get asked the most at Zadro is, is this, I want to go out to the press, can I go out to the press with this? And so we're really looking at what is an interesting news story. For example, if people have a new website, we would say that isn't a press release story. It's not the news that people want to read about. They want to read about, is there a new strategy or a new product or a new direction or a new office that's opened, and can then you direct people to a new website. It's not the main news.
No.
So we're really looking at, what's your audience interested in? So, for example, we would be looking at MiceNet and saying, who are the audience of MiceNet, and what are they interested in hearing about?
I think that's something that some PR agencies forget. They send out a blanket press release, and it may be on grey nomads who are travelling Australia, staying in caravan parks, which certainly isn't of interest to our magazine.
No.
If it was tailored a little bit more and it was talking about luxury tented camps, then that could be for us, as it could be a new incentive product. So do you have to tell your clients basically what they should be writing about, or they should focus on who they're targeting?
Absolutely. So a lot of the work that we do and most PR agencies would be doing is around the PR strategy. So what is the news? If there isn't any news, how can we create the news? Can we do research or white papers or interviews or launch a new product that we could take to press? But I think your grey nomad example is actually really interesting because there's 2 things there. One is, if people are writing a press release, who are they sending it to? So spending that time and developing the media list, who are the outlets where this story is most relevant for? And it's not going to be the same every time you go out to press. And then the second piece is, there are, as you know, a lot of media outlets that will produce your press release for you. But there's also, what we do at Zadro is develop a hero list. So where are the outlets that we really, really want to get into? Which are the ones that have got the best reputation, the best readership, the most engaged audience, and then we would start tailoring that message and that story to suit you and your audience.
The challenge that you have, I would imagine, is that your clients want as much coverage as they can, and they talk about clippings or something where you get 10 stories or 15 stories, and they think that's great, and it is good, but there must be a challenge for you to not go down that path all the time, because some as you say, some publications or outlets print everything that's possible, and whether their readership is good, or not. But a tick for you and to show your client. But how do you sort of decide on whether a story should be offered as an exclusive or tailored a little bit to a media outlet?
Well, this is, the rub where the rubber hits the road in terms of those discussions. So we know, and I'm sure you love your exclusives, Brad.
I love them.
Yeah.
Yes.
And every media outlet.
Give me one every day.
Every media outlet loves their exclusives. But we then need to have a client that says, I'm okay with being published in only one news outlet. And so it really depends on the client's company and what they deem as success.
Yeah.
So some companies, particularly larger corporates, in my experience, US-based potentially, they're really interested in clippings. So, for example, we would send a news piece out and we got 25 clippings. But then the one that we did before, we got 32. And so the client is then asking us what we did wrong, because we got 7 less this time.
Yeah.
So it really, that is one way of operating. I have to say it is shifting a lot, and I think that PR and comms people are getting much better at advocating internally with their organisations about what success in PR means. I think PR people have always known that that's not always success.
Yep.
But we really have to negotiate between our client and the media around, what everyone thinks is great. So exclusives are fantastic for big news pieces, in-depth, complicated stories. A new CEO is appointed. Who are they? Let's find out. Let's set up a meeting with you and you can interview them, for example, as an exclusive.
Yep.
But the more kind of spray and pray, where you send wide and far, is better for more mundane news, so to speak.
I think it's a sort of two-way street. Because as an editor, I want to have what my competitor has in terms of stories, but I also want a little bit more, or I want to have the story and they don't have it.
Yep.
So there's an opportunity, I think, to send out the spray and pray. What is it called?
Spray and pray.
Spray and pray. Send out the spray and pray, but also offer to an editor or journalist something a little bit more, a one-on-one interview, as you said, with a CEO. So it must be challenging, especially because there's so much content out there.
Yeah, there is, but it's really important to identify who is your real target, where really are your buyers, prospects and clients, and what are they reading. So, for example, if we identified that MiceNet was, one of our big targets, we could offer you a different person to interview if the client had someone else to interview. So we need to make sure that there's talent for you to go to, and they're trained in media as well. We could offer you different photos. We could also offer you different timings. So we could give it to a story you first, which we've done, and we would send the rest of it out later on. So we get first bite basically at the correct story. So you get the breaking, but then it's not exclusive, so to speak. So we're talking about the press release here, which in PR circles, there's a lot of discussion around, where that PR release is going and is it valid? I think it is valid, but it's also one tool that we have in our toolbox. And so we can also be doing a whole range of other things in public relations besides the press release. Yeah,
and the press release is something that we'll be talking about in another segment. At the moment, I've been receiving dozens of press releases from hotels about how COVID safe they are.
Oh, right.
I don't know if you've sent any, have you?
No. It's not news.
Well, I don't know if it's news either. It's basically a hotel should be COVID safe. I don't know whether it's news. I think there's an opportunity behind that. Again, I come back to people, you know, what are the people in the hotel doing for COVID safety? Have they had special training? Have they, I'm not sure. I haven't thought about it too much, but is that something that you guys get involved in, saying to the client, this is a story, or this is, you know,
Absolutely.
this is marketing, or, yeah. So
one of the biggest questions I still get, and I've been doing this a long time, as you know, is trying to work out with clients what is a public relations story or a news story, and what is marketing. And the worst thing that we can do is send journalists marketing.
yeah.
It just annoys you. You know, it ruins the relationship that we have with that outlet, and the client doesn't get any clippings. So working out what is news. So, for example, with this hotel example that you're talking about, if they were employing robots, or, you know, they've got all these redundant, you know, sales teams, then they've retrained them into housekeeping to keep them employed. You know, or they've created their own cleaning products, or they've done something that's a little bit out of the box.
Or making masks, or sourcing masks from the rural Australia that was hit by bushfires, or something like that.
Yeah, perfect. So something a little bit more interesting, and you know, once you sort of have a couple of minutes where you can brainstorm what's going on behind the news, then that is definitely the story. So, for example, running an integrated agency is quite useful for, so for example, if someone came to us and said, oh, we want to go out and say via press that we are cleaning our hotel every hour, I would say that's not a PR story, unless you've got one of those things that we talked about. But it's a marketing angle, and so you need to use your marketing channels, you know, your direct marketing, your EDMs, your website, your social media, for example. So yeah, it really, I still feel, is one of the biggest misunderstood pieces around what is news and what is marketing. And it's something that we talk about a lot.
Yeah, we do. Well, you do.
I
And
do.
We talk occasionally when you give me those exclusives. We're going to wrap it up there. Next time, we want to talk about frequency. How often do you send stuff out to the media? Daily, weekly, monthly, and how much is too much? And the nuts and bolts of writing a press release. And I've got a few things I'd like to say about that.
Get off your chest, would you?
Yes, get off my chest, help people, hopefully. So we'll see you next time. Thank you, Felicity.
Thanks,
and
Brad.
We'll see you soon. Bye.